Bear with me just a second here. I'm just working on something here back in the back end here. 1 minute. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the live for this week. Hang tight.
I think
I'm muted still. Okay. I always do that to myself. So I mute myself so that I don't like make all this noise in the back end. And then I forget that I muted myself.
all
It literally
I
happens
do
every
too.
time. Welcome in, everyone. I'm just going to give it maybe another minute here for everyone to hop in live, and then I will introduce my guest and talk a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. Hello, Krista. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday. I'm used to going live on Wednesdays. I almost said happy hump day, but we're not that far in yet. I mean, I don't want to age myself any more than I already have. I mean, like the days are just flying by, aren't they? Hello, we are halfway through the year. It is just absolutely insane.
I know, that is insane. It's wild.
Yeah, it's rather upsetting. I'm not going to lie. So let's fix our mindsets and talk about journaling today, right?
Yeah.
So really quick, I just want to talk about, what we're doing here, right? Welcome to this week's live interview. This is our guest interview for the week. This is also considered our live workshop and training. So thank you to those who have RSVP'd. If you're not here live, catch the replay. And if you are here live, #live. Let me know that you're here in real time and interact with us. Ask your questions if something's really resonating with you. Leave it in the comments. Let us know, and that way we can just make this a co-creation, right? So thank you so much for joining, and #replay if you're here later on in the future, right? So if you want to continue this little call to action really quick, if you want to continue seeing content from the Financial Fixer, there's things that you can do. There's kind of two things that you can do. First of all, always try to RSVP to things, even if you can't make it in real time. If you want to catch the replay, that way you do get notified when I am live and when we've got some juicy stuff going on, right? But also, like right now, you can actually while you're watching, you can update the notifications. I think there's somewhere on the screen up at the top right-hand corner, maybe there's some dots or something, and you can say get notified, or you can update your settings. Also, when you're in the group, you can go into where it says joined. Like if you're in the group and you're looking at it says joined, you can click on that and you can do update your notification settings there. And if you want to see less content, you're more than welcome to shut me down, right? You could do that too. I'm not, but I'm just saying, if you're here and you're in the group, I'm assuming that you want to see more of this content when we're talking about growing our money, right? So, and here, money is a mindset. It's mental. There is no question that the things that we do, the actions that we take when it comes to our money and in our everyday lives is coming from right here in our noggin. Okay. And I'm talking to an expert today. And this week's guest expert is going to kind of help us to break through some of the barriers that we may be having when roadblocks, right? When it comes to writing things down. And if you're here, you may not be a journaler, right? You may not be, is journaler a word? I don't know. Journaler? I just made it up. It's totally fine. But this may not be something that maybe like resonates with you, or you don't feel like this is something that could help you. Or maybe you might be interested and think that maybe, hey, I want to get into the routine of this. I've heard it does wonders for people, right? And this might, and Meghan here today is going to help us to kind of see past some of the roadblocks that we may be seeing or feeling or thinking, right? So let me just really quick introduce myself. If you don't know who I am, if you're new here to the Financial FixHER program or to the Financial FixHER community, I'm Amanda Delaney. I'm the Financial FixHER, the founder. I'm also a podcaster. You can find me at Financial FixHER Podcast anywhere you listen. And Meghan here is a podcaster as well, and we will share on that. But my mission is to help women clean up the money mess. And this might not be a mess that is very apparent, right? This might not be something that is, it might be just simply in your mind, right? Fixing your relationship with your money. I want you all to be the boss of your money so that no one else or no other entity or JOB or anything of the like bosses you around. Okay. So that's what I do here. And what my team does here as well, including my clients and past clients. So my guest, writer, PhD, published author, podcaster, Meghan, Dr. Meghan, is here to share with us. So Meghan, if you could, please tell us a little bit about you or a lot of bit about you and how you show up in the world and serve your people at home and, you know, anywhere else in your space.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me, Amanda. I very rarely go live, so this is like me in real time growing and expanding and getting super far out of my comfort zone. So thank you for asking me to be here. So yeah, like Amanda said, my name's Meghan. I live in Iowa with my husband and our puppy. His name is Banner. He is absolutely adorable. I have 3 degrees in English. I am currently a professor at a small school in rural Iowa. And when I say rural Iowa, I mean like super rural. We don't even have a Walmart in our town. It's a very tiny town. The traffic, if you can call it traffic, consists of cars getting backed up behind the Amish. So like we're like super rural over here. I just published my first book, Power Within Her Guide to Journaling, and I'm super proud of it. And I have so many more books and things in the works. I have a publishing house in the works. I have courses and masterminds teaching women how to write books because I just truly believe more than anything that women's voices and stories and experiences matter. So that's what I am all about. Women's empowerment, getting stories out there into the world.
Well, this is what I love. So like, obviously I know that you're in a rural area because of what happened last week with the internet and everything. And like, it's all good because timing is everything. And there's a time and place. And today was supposed to be the day, right? Because someone's going to be able to hop on today that wasn't able to last week. And they're going to be able to experience you, right? And what we're here today to help them with. Yeah. And with that, like, it's super cool that we have this platform, we have this opportunity, you know, to be able to share with women and people all around the world and help them in some way, shape, or form. And there's probably something that you or I or both of us is going to say today that's going to, you know, have someone respond and resonate so deeply that it's going to change their lives. I do believe that. I believe that in the deepest part of myself that every time we show up, and it's not going to be something we're even going to realize was profound. Right? It's going to be something simple and light that we're just chatting about something and somebody's going to be like, boom, a light bulb went off. Right? And I'd love to see that today. And so, if a light bulb goes off for you throughout this live, please put it in the comments. We would like to know. We want to share those wins with you. Okay. Yes. So first question, I'd like to call this 3 strategies of, you know, how journaling can, you know, empower you and be so powerful when it comes to money mindset. Right. So, and I was thinking through and, you know, what questions should I ask on this? I have a lot of my own questions. And to be honest, I'm, you know, this is for me and my own healing too. I'm not going to lie. Okay. So with that, the first thing I kind of want to ask, and if you can give a strategy or, you know, somewhat of a technique on some of the things that I'm asking or kind of your perspective, you know, as a writer and as a guide to journaling on your thoughts on this. So is there a right way to journal? Because we get stuck. We get stuck on this just with the whole meditation, everything, right? Is there a right way? Because I think that's what, for me, has roadblocked me, right? It's me.
Yeah, for sure. I love this question. So There is absolutely no one way to journal. Like there's no correct one way to journal whatsoever. It's whatever feels good for you. So I was talking to somebody else. I think Christina, she's also here in your community as well. And so Christina has ADHD, and she had heard someone somewhere at some point in her life tell her, oh, yeah, you have to wake up early in the morning. You have to journal in the morning. You have to write 3 pages in your journal, and like, then you're good to go. It was presented to her so singularly, so one dimensional, and there was a right and a wrong way to do it, And so journaling is not that way. I feel like that gets into our heads. It gets into it just gets in our way. There are so many different ways to journal. So I'm going to try to make this quick, but my book on journaling is broken up into a bunch of different sections. But the first chapter is all about using personal development as a springboard to journal. And I would consider any resources or materials about money and money mindset as fantastic materials to journal about, right? So you can use anything personal development wise and journal about it, because the great thing about podcasters and books in the personal development space, whether it's money, confidence, like whatever it is, those people ask you questions, right? Those people ask you questions. They give you concepts. They give you ideas. You can reflect on those concepts and ideas. You should answer. I don't like to say should, but like you should answer their questions, right? Because when I started my personal development journey myself, I would listen to a bunch of podcasts and I was like, oh my gosh, like all this stuff is so good. And then I would just kind of move on, right? I wasn't learning as much as I could because I wasn't answering their questions. And that's when I bought my first journal and started to take notes on podcasts, and I started to answer podcasters' questions. So that's kind of what the first chapter is all about, a bunch of different methods so that you can tap more intentionally into the power of personal growth text. So that's just chapter 1, right? Chapter 2 is all about using a bunch of independent journaling methods. So in chapter 1, you're relying on personal development texts to be the substance in which you journal about. But then with chapter 2, you don't need really anything else to journal. Like it's just you and yourself and a notebook and a pen. And I know that that's really scary for a lot of people. They're like, one of the big questions in my DMs before I wrote this book was like, I don't know what to do with the blank page. I don't know what to write. Like, what do I do? I want to do it. And I was like, okay. So I think I developed like 11 or 12 different methods to be able to journal like independently. So that's what chapter 2 is all about. And then chapter 3 is all about using journaling to flush out and capture our ideas, because I know lots of women in this community, as well as in my community, have, books and ambitions and things that they want to do. And so journaling can be a really fantastic way to capture that stuff, to flush it out, to figure out what's what in terms of that. And then I wrap up the whole entire book with what journaling can do for you over time. And I think this really speaks to money mindset and money stuff as well, and really to anything that you're going through, because you can, put pen to paper and free write out everything that you have to say about your, current financial situation. Like, I'm so mad, I'm so ashamed, I'm so this, I'm so that, whatever. Totally done that. And just, kind of like got a handle on what I'm feeling, what I'm going through, what the situation is, right? And then, you can start to then take action in your life to like work on those things, reflect on how it's going, write about what you're grateful about, your goals, your wins, like whatever it is. And you just can keep reflecting over time. You start that today, you come back a year from now, whoa, look how much has changed. Look how much I've grown. Look how many different things I've done to get to like a better place, right? Or in reverse, if it gets worse, then you need to take other action, right? So that was a lot. And I don't even know if I've answered your question, but there are so many different ways to journal. And I think really specific things that you could use journaling for to help with money and money mindset.
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. That did answer my question. That was so like nuggety too. So I actually wrote down the 4 things. But the other thing that you mentioned that really stuck with me was the last thing, was about the progress. So something that I started and stopped and started and stopped, and OMG, it makes me mad that I've started and stopped writing letters to my kids. And then I've gone back and I've looked back at those letters and times and, moments and I've just been like, I mean, why did I stop? Like I started writing letters to my son when I was like nursing him in the middle of the night, like all these things that I was feeling. And it's just like, and yes, the old cliche, like, I don't have time, right? Like now I'm like back at work and that's no excuse. Like I could take 10 minutes a day, there's no question. I think just, you hit, so I'm going to say what you hit on the 4 chapters really quick is, you focused on the personal development in the beginning, the springboard, using it as a springboard. So this is a little bit of strategy talk. So the second chapter is about the independent methods, right? This is, you like just free writing and being free with yourself. This is what I'm taking from it. And the third one is flushing out the ideas. And the fourth one is, over time. And we talked about the progression of things and seeing where you were compared to where you are now, which is pretty much how I coach. That's why tracking takes a measurement, right? And if we don't have a measurement, we cannot know progress, right? So, and I believe that journaling is super aligned with that. Like, because I'll have a client, no joke, we'll do like a where are we now? Right? Versus where we were 6 months ago. And it will blow their mind, the wins that they've had with money that they're actually not cognizant about. And then we'll go through the steps and we'll look at the past and we'll look at now and we'll do the tracking, take note of the tracking. And before you know it, $5,000 in debt was gone. The net worth went up and money confidence increased. Like, how I'm feeling about this now versus then. So aligned with, journaling, writing it down, keeping track. I really love that. And you talked a little bit, I wrote down the word writer's block, right? And I think that your book obviously is going to help us with that. And so many of us, I've been in the middle of a book for the past 3 years. And so it's time. You and I are going to have a conversation offline. We talked about that. I need some accountability, right? I'm an accountability coach, but that doesn't mean that, I was actually just talking to a business coach just prior to this live. And what happens is we, as leaders in something, thought leaders, right? We get lonely. Right? It gets very lonely because not that we're like at the top and we're just looking, it's not that. That's not what I mean. It's just like, we're kind of like the face of something and we're out there helping and we're connecting people. Okay. And then we lose that connection, the connection that we needed, and because we still need, right? So, and anyway, that's why I love the fact that we're doing this and reconnecting. And I also want to mention that we podcasted together just to kind of plug that in there. I want to plug your podcast. So if you can mention your podcast really quick. I know we're talking about the book today, but talk about the podcast just super quick.
It's called The Power Within Her. And we did an episode, I think it was last November, and it released on Black Friday. Thought that was a great day. Episode
number 60. And yes, and I re-listened to that. It was really good. And we're going to do it again. This is, this is for Eva. So, and also you talked about prompting, which is, I've done some of this with my academy and with my clients, just kind of like fill in the blank, like asking questions. I think a lot of this is just, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to say. We're not really asking questions, right? Like maybe we should ask ourselves how we feel about this thing or what our thoughts are on that, right? And then you mentioned, again, over time. So this is a lifestyle, right? It's not something that we can just do for a little while and then just, stop. Because when we stop, and tell me if you agree or disagree, we die, right? Like something dies, and when we do this and we show up for ourselves and we care for ourselves in such a way, it brings us to life. I'm so alive just like even talking about this subject.
Yeah, for sure. And like the thing about it too is my big thing about journaling, and the reason I wrote this book and the reason it's a guide and not a singular journal, because if you go to Amazon, you can type in and find a bunch of different journals, right? I didn't write a journal, I wrote a guide, because I don't believe that journaling is a one size fits all. And I don't believe that your practice should look and stay and be the same today as the same as it is like 2 years from now, right? Yes. Like I'm a huge proponent of tailoring journaling to fit where you're at and your needs in the current season. So just real quick. When I first started journaling, it was my desire to change my mindset, like to heal it, because it was very negative. It was very rooted and rutted in negative thought patterns. And I was like, I need to get out of this. This is not me. This does not feel good. Like I can't get where I want to go and do the things that I want to do if I'm just like so negative all the time. So I really started to work on the mindset. And I was listening to so much personal development that I was like, I feel like my head is a sieve, like it's all seeping out. Like I need a place to put this. So I bought the journal to take notes, and then I started to answer questions, and it sort of spun from there. And then several months down the road, so that was in like the summer of 2020, and then like several months down the road, I am no longer really, prioritizing podcasts and personal development books where I take notes diligently. I kind of grew from that. Not that I can't go back to that, because there are some that I listen to even still to this day that I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to take notes on that because that was so good. I want to remember that, right? But I found myself using different methods. I really was in a season, especially the fall of 2020. So if you haven't noticed, I measure my life in semesters. So it's like fall, spring, winter, whatever. That's the life of a professor. But in fall of 2020, teaching in a pandemic, like, really feeling unfulfilled in my job and in my life, and just trying to figure things out, trying to figure out a place that I could, or like figure out how to establish a routine where I could teach 9 classes, survive a pandemic, guide all these teenagers through a pandemic while teaching my bread and butter teaching methods ripped away from me because you can't be in contact with people, right? It was a lot. It was a lot going on. So I needed a place to process that. I needed a place to turn to be able to figure out all of that and what was going on. So I have a lot of journal entries from that fall that are long, that are like 6 pages long, and the writing is messy, and it's you can tell it's kind of aggressive and frantic. And when I look back at the handwriting, and I needed to process it. I needed to get it up and out of my body onto the paper. And I was journaling a couple of times a day, like before I would go to campus, because I really wanted to pour into myself. And then I'd get home, something would go wrong. I'm still in the midst of trying to heal my mindset as well, and like literally reframing stories on paper. So I really, really used it as a way to process. And then, fast forward even more in time, as I'm wrapping up writing my very first book, practically none of the entries are long processing type entries. It's a lot of affirmations. It's a lot of writing wins. It's a lot of, gratitude for honestly, for the money that I did have to be able to produce the book. Just a bunch of stuff like that. It was much shorter. So that's a short timeline that I just gave you, but my practice does not look the same. It changes based on the season of life that I'm in. And I think it could do the same for you, like in a non-money way, but also for a money way as well, like wherever you're at. There's a different method I use every single day. I journal in the way in which I feel called to in the moment.
So I really love that. I was actually just going to say, you said it, that is seasonal, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the important key here is to not allow it to be one of those things where we're in the season and then we're out of season, mm-hmm. right? We're in different seasons, mm-hmm. but we're still utilizing this tool, right, to benefit us. It's the same thing with therapy, right? Like, if you think about it, we stop going to therapy because we feel healed. We feel healed mm-hmm. from that acute thing that was going on, that circumstantial situation. And then suddenly we're like, not okay anymore. And we're like, what's going on? What's changed, right? Well, we weren't continuing to do that practice. Mm-hmm. And in that case, it's talking to someone, right? And in this case, it's journaling, it's writing, it's, getting our thoughts down on paper. So Krista says something really quick. So she mentions, I started when my firstborn didn't keep it up. Mm. Same. I don't know. Because and that goes right back to the seasons, mm-hmm. right? It goes right back to when we're in the season of being home with the baby, and that's a season, and then we go back to work, and or we life gets going again when they're less dependent and more independent, right? Mm-hmm. And then we're in another season. So I was talking to one of my besties this morning, business besties. We got to connect over just a quick coffee chat this morning. We were both crying together, big hot mess. But anyways, we were talking, she mentioned to me about how my children, and I don't really realize, we were talking about how I have to put on different faces, like through what everything, family dysfunction, taking care of grandparents, immediate family, business, all the things, right? And, but she also mentioned you've got 3 kids at 3 drastically different ages. You're a different mom to each of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, that's a lot. Like, like that is a lot to turn switches, like all the time. And so, with that, to do something that's healing and to like be able to do it in a way where you are just kind of putting space in between things to where you can adjust and acclimate, right? Like get adjusted more with ease as opposed to, like getting grouchy in the process, and I think that journaling can really help with something like that. I mean, I know that every time I do, it really helps me and soothes me. And I'm like sitting here, I need to not be mad at myself. Don't beat yourself up, Amanda. But I'm like, I need to start writing again and picking up those letters and sending my children emails and stuff like that. Anything can happen tomorrow. Right. And, the things that went unsaid, scary. Okay. Don't want to be doom and gloom right now, but just saying. So the second thing, this is one that's really got me to like, is how do I get past the lack of motivation to do mindset work through writing? So I'm sure many of the viewers here can relate to feeling this lack of motivation. And I wrote something here: when we feel lack, we slack. And that is so true. And it's true about money too. Like when we feel like we don't have enough, right? We don't have enough of something, or we're not enough, we just kind of go into a shell and kind of stop, and that happens when we have a lack of motivation for something, and how to build that like momentum again and keep it going. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I just did a podcast episode on writing motivation, but I think that some of that will speak to this. So I feel like like in our culture and in our society, we have a very aggressive take to motivation. Like some people think that motivation is a myth, like just push through. It's discipline over motivation. Like who cares how you feel, what your energy is like, where you're at mentally, just like push, go. And I am just not about that. I think we need a gentler approach to motivation. So like for me, when I'm not motivated to write or not really motivated to do the journaling thing for the day, like I really ask myself, like, do I need to do this today? Right? Like, does this need to happen in the particular way that it's happening, or that I'm trying to force it to happen? Because there are some days where I sit down to journal and I'm like, I just don't feel like writing sentences. So it's like bullet points, here we go. It's just, it's kind of changing how you do it and like what that looks like. I also don't think that you have to physically do any of the mindset stuff with actual writing. There are alternatives to writing, and I go into this in the book, where you can do talk to text. So like literally just like hold up your phone, click the button in the notes app, and just like talk. You might get some wonky spellings in there, but you've got it, right? So you can still journal, but use the talk to text function. You can also just do voice memos, like audio, recordings to like share your thoughts or like work on your mindset, stuff like that. So I don't think that, we should have to like force ourselves to do it all the time. I think there are alternatives to actually doing the writing. But if it's coming up again and again and again, like that's, I think, worth digging into. Because something's like not, I don't want to say something's not right, but that's just something to just like start to question, to get curious about. But then just like with any writing, whether you're writing like a book or if you're just journaling, I'm a huge proponent of just like throwing it out there. It's like spaghetti on the wall, you just have to just throw whatever is in your brain onto the page. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can spell every other word wrong. You can use the wrong there, and there. Nobody cares. It's just for you, and just kind of throwing it out there and just kind of see what happens. It's really, to me, that's really motivating, because you kind of get out of your head and I think that, middle school and high school English teachers can be kind of, in your head, Common Core sucks. So it's just kind of like, oh, the grammar matters. It has to be the perfect sentence. Like, no, it doesn't. So just really adopting a different mindset of like, I'm going to work on my mindset through writing, or I'm going to journal and I'm just going to throw it out there and it doesn't matter. It's really shifting the mindset from like, somebody else is going to read this to nobody else has to see this. Even if it's a manuscript for a book, nobody has to see the first draft. Just throw it out there. And then above all, I get motivated by making things fun. I know that you're an Enneagram 7, Amanda, and I'm the inverse. I'm an Enneagram 1. And so that's really been a huge compass for me in terms of motivation to really not suck the fun out of things, because I totally have been a person who can do that in prior seasons of life where it is, I have thought it's been about discipline and motivation doesn't matter. You just show up. But now my new compass for life is really trying to make things as fun as possible. So when I journal, like my ideal journaling environment is in the morning. It's before my husband gets up. It's when the puppy is still super sleepy because he is not a morning dog. Which is so funny about him. And I sit at this desk that I'm sitting at right now with coffee. It's quiet. It's just time for me. Sometimes I'll light a candle, like I'll make the environment fun. And I will, again, journal in a way that feels good for me in the moment. So sometimes that's gratitude. Sometimes it's writing pages of reflection. Other times it's, thinking about my goals. It's just reflecting on whatever's on my mind in the moment. It's just making it as fun as possible, trying to flow with what feels good as opposed to what I think I should do.
I love it. You said spaghetti at the wall, girl. Let me tell you how them entrepreneurs be loving to do that, especially in the beginning. I did a lot of that, but I'm so glad that I did. Right. The feeling of accomplishment is, and I took that from what you were just saying about doing it anyways, even if it doesn't feel like we, again, perfectionist, right? Like we're not trying to be perfect in this way. This is just getting it out, because the more that we leave in our heads, the more foggy we will be. Right. And so we've got to get it out somehow. And I love your ideas. And I transcribe all the time and take my voice. We do Voxer with my clients, and sometimes I transcribe their stuff or my stuff. And I'm just like, you just reminded me that I need to really use that tool more, because the talking to text, I actually talk to text all the time. Like that's my jam, because I ain't got time to be, okay. No. But wait a minute. Why am I not doing that to journal? Holy crap. Like, hello, mind blown, right?
You are not the first person who's
mind blown. Mind blown. Okay. Like I'm already doing it.
Yeah.
I'm just not utilizing the tool in the way that, I could be maximizing that tool.
A lot of people don't realize that they actually do journal, or that journaling doesn't have to look like writing.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And
I even have too a writing client right now who's writing. She's not in a season where she can focus on the book or make it a priority, but she's using talk to text. She's using voice memos to keep track of all of her ideas for her book. And I'm like, you go, girl. That's exactly what you need to be doing. That's journaling.
Yeah. Unbelievable. See, I'm finding some of the content that happens in these lives and in my interviews on podcast is like, and in my coaching sessions are like my book. Like that's my book. OMG. But anyways, Krista says, I'm terrible about mistakes in my writing and have to work on not rewriting a page just because of one word I messed up. Now, before we talk about this, I will have a question for Krista. Do you use a pen or pencil? Because I have this crazy, I'm kind of psycho, and I need a really sharp pencil. I don't know if it's because I want a weapon on me. I don't know what it is, but I have this old pencil sharpener, and of course I always have to have an eraser. So like to ask Krista, does she use a pen? Like, and my question to you, Meghan, is that, do you recommend when you write, do you use a pen or a pencil? And, cause some people don't like to see the scratch throughs. They, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know it takes me longer to erase, but I feel like that kind of keeps my I don't know, the way I'm seeing it, kind of clean, like maybe my little OCD or something. I don't know. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts?
Yeah. No, I like that. Sorry. I'm just like flipping through a journal right now.
Okay, so Krista says she uses a pen, and that is probably part of the problem, and maybe potentially switch to a pencil. Just an idea, because with a good eraser, right, that doesn't like black out things or whatever. And it might take you longer, but at least it might be one of those things where it can kind of keep you going and keep your momentum, so that you don't feel like, oh, I gotta, rewrite this, right? Like I love pencils.
Yeah, I love pens. I journal with pens, but I make it fun. I like to write in a bunch of different colors, but like, I mean, here's like an entry in it. Sorry, my like thing is all weird. Ugh, gotta go the other way. But yeah, I mean, like it's 2 different colors. I had highlighted some stuff. I messed up there, messed up down here. Like, it's just, my journals are super messy. It's like, it's weirdly one of the spaces and the places that I allow myself to fully embrace the mess, because I do struggle with perfectionism. And actually, the Enneagram plus journaling about the Enneagram and reading more about it and reflecting more has gained so much self-awareness for me. And I used to think that I didn't struggle with perfectionism, but I totally do. But journaling was a way to figure that out. But yeah, like, I don't know, like, I spell things wrong all the time. I actually, in my book, I included a journal entry of a time where I was reflecting back on a moment of putting undue pressure on myself. I used the wrong undo. I put the wrong undo in my book. Like, I stood in the messiness and the mistake and the imperfection of that journal entry, where plain as day it says the wrong undue pressure, like the wrong undo on the top. And I just stood in the perfection of it, or the imperfection of it, because that's freaking life. Right?
So I have a question about that, because that's one of my like nightmares. So
okay, like, so I want to clarify. Like,
curious.
It was the journal entry that had the spelling mistake. The reflection and the analysis and the explanation I put and surrounded, like the undo, that particular journal entry was spelled correctly. But the point is that the spelling in my actual journal entry did not matter. What mattered was the emotion, the processing, what I was trying to get onto the page. Like, that mattered more.
Gotcha.
You know?
Yeah. So I mean, I don't spell well. I like, that's just, it's just not my thing. But I could write, and I think anyone that's listening here can write, and what you're saying. I mean, I think I might have a slight dyslexia or something, because some of my spellings, like, things come out opposite, and it's just like weird. I'm like, how did I even? And I think because my brain, Enneagram 7, I'm literally like, before I've even thought through something, I'm writing it or saying it. Right. So, but again, and we're all different learners. Some people are saying here, I'm a pen user. I have a pencil, but I use a pen, and I like the whole color idea. And I'm thinking I might try that, to get colored pens to maybe get me. I mean, that could be something.
Fun.
Oh,
it's
fun.
So fun. So fun. So much fun.
I love it. That could get me to, I don't know, maybe do this more, or maybe, get more into it. I don't think that the scratch off thing really, like seeing the messiness really bothers me so much on paper, but I'm not really sure. Because I kind of have a messy note situation. If you look, like, I've got like stuff kind of all over the place, circles and lines and stuff like that. But anyway, I love this conversation. This is going so awesome. So I really I've got like a million takeaways, but making it fun for this last, so strategies here is the feeling of accomplishment, doing it anyways to check that box, right? We all want to check a box. We want to feel like we've done something. So do it, check the box. I journaled today, even if it was 5 minutes, right? Potentially transcribe, use your voice memo, do things like that, talk to text. Those are great ideas. And make it fun. Make sure that you're not like, oh, no, because that's not the point in this. The point in this is for you to find joy, right? So also, okay, and we talked a little bit about routine. So, and I'll talk a little bit about routine too, in my routine. And when I Slack, I feel it. Okay. But when should I incorporate journaling into my routine? And again, this is, to each its own, but just give some thoughts on that, and on how your book incorporated any of that.
Yeah, I love that so much. So You're exactly right. Like you already anticipated my answer of like it depends on the person, right? So yeah, it totally depends on the person. For me, and this might be true for moms, like I'm not a mom, so I have absolutely no idea. But I realized, so I listened to one of Keisha Fitzgerald's podcast episodes. It was like one of the first episodes I ever listened to, and I don't remember what number it is, but it was an episode about like really getting clear on how you wanted to show up and like what's valuable to you. And I realized that I had so much stress and anxiety to the point where my back was just one giant knot and my shoulders were just like permanently, right? And I realized that I was showing up to life in a flurry, in a hurry, and everything was just so much pressure. So I would immediately like get up in the morning, still barely have gone to the bathroom, brushed my teeth, made coffee, done anything, and just like with bleary eyes, like sit down at my computer and immediately check my email. And I realized that, my work email. And immediately, of course, there'd always be some email waiting there to piss me off, to set me off. That's the first thing I consumed in the morning is crappy, mean, rude emails, right? And so I was like, okay, I am not showing up in a way that feels good for me, my mental health, my physical health, none of it. So that was when I realized that I did some journaling, reflecting on that episode, one of Keisha's episodes. And I was like, okay, how do I actually want to show up? I have never asked myself that question. How do I want to show up in the world? And I realized that I wanted to show up in a way that's much more calm, that's not as scattered, that's not as just like choosing to be stressed. So that is when I decided in that season of life that I was no longer going to check my email first thing. I was going to do something for me. I was going to take my time. I was going to make my coffee, have my water, sit at my desk and journal like right away. And that is when I started to pick different methods. So there was a season where it was like, I'd always start with gratitude. Then I would check in like, what am I thinking? What am I feeling? All this stuff. Or like, if I would get up really early because I was having like an insomnia thing going on where I was in a season of life where I just like every morning, like clockwork, it was like bing, 3 a.m., like, hello, I'm awake. And I would reflect on that. Like that was lots of stress, lots of physiological like stuff going on. So I would write about it. But it became really important in terms of routine, long-winded way here of saying like I needed to journal in the morning because that's what felt most empowering for me. I could center myself. I could prioritize myself. But I know that is not always possible for all people. Especially if you're, a mom or you're just in a completely different season of life. So I like to do it in the morning, but there have been other times where I've done it at the end of the day because that's when I have more thoughts. That's when I have other things that have popped up. You can work through the obstacles or the wins or whatever it is that happened throughout your day. So all of that kind of stuff, you can do as well. But I really think the bottom line here is to journal at a time and in a place that feels the most empowering and supportive to you. So like if you can make that ideal environment and that ideal time happen, make it happen, right? Because not all people are morning people. Not all people have the ability or even like the luxury to do it right away in the morning because they have littles. You might want to do it if you're like more of like the afternoon pigeon type person where that's like where you feel the most creative or you have time. You could journal on your lunch break. You could do it when you get home, right before you go to bed. I don't like to journal before I go to bed because that sparks my brain. My brain ignites when I journal and then I won't sleep. So, long-winded way of saying, try to just do it whenever you really feel called to in terms of like volume and everything as well. You don't have to do it every day. You can do it whenever you want to. At the beginning of my book, I go through like a giant question answer and exercises that really digs into all of these questions: when to journal, how long to journal, frequency, like length, like all this stuff. It's like a giant Q&A section where I go into immense detail about like all this stuff.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Love it. Love it so much. The one thing that I really took away from this last question, when should I incorporate journaling into my routine, is to protect your energy, right?
Yes.
You said, you had emails, and this is something that I've been learning from like masters of the masters of like, successful people is don't be looking at things like email or like social media for that matter, right when you first wake up, because there's triggers the risk of triggers that happen there. And that sometimes we're being triggered by something we don't even know we're being triggered. And suddenly we're in this mood.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did I even get in this mood? Like, I didn't feel like I was in a bad mood. Like, what shifted, right? What shifted was something was put into our brains that we didn't want to be there. And it was something that, you know, we weren't protecting our energy. Right. And so suddenly we left ourselves open, right? Like we're supposed to be the gatekeepers. What did I read yesterday? I was reading something. Oh, I was listening to, I believe, Rob Dial's podcast, one of his podcasts, the Mindset Mentor. Super good if you've listened to him. Oh,
his was the very first personal development podcast I ever listened to.
You know what? I'm new to him.
Then Keisha's. Oh, his was really good.
I'm new to him, and it's blowing my mind.
His one about rewiring our negative thinking, like that negative, like choosing stress and negative thinking is almost like, oh my gosh, is almost like a drug or like a choice, just like changed my life. But anyway, I'm sorry. Keep going.
What was the point? Where was I going? It was about something that he said.
Gatekeepers.
We're the gatekeepers of our energy. And it might not have been him, because I've been listening to so much stuff lately. I can't remember. God. Anyway, listen to Rob Doyle or Dial if you get a chance. But anyways, the gatekeepers to what we allow in our energies. We're the gatekeeper to, like just how we're going to be and respond. Right. And so if we're leaving ourselves open to something that might trigger us or might make us feel offended, right? Then we're, like giving our power away, And so, to realign this really quick to the journaling side is to be very careful is where your energy's at, and if the morning is usually good for you, but you're like, my kids wake up and then I just, the winds at my, like happened to me. If I wake up late and I don't get that extra hour or two prior to my kids waking up and my husband and stuff, the wind is at my face, and so that reminds me, I had I wanted to talk a little bit about my morning routine really quick before we let this loose, because OMG, it's already been 45 minutes. So if I miss my workout, for example, the wind is at my face for the rest of the day. Like, workout and or my routine, my early routine. I don't always move in the morning, like rigorous movement. But I feel like journaling is the same thing. Like if it's something that you get into a routine of and then you're out of that routine and you're, sometimes you don't even realize like what's off, like what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling so different lately? And then all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, I haven't journaled in like months. Hello. No wonder my morale is down and my energy is down and I'm not feeling good about me. And suddenly that mean girl is having a conversation with me and I want to punch her in her face, like how'd she get in there? Right. So anyways, I don't know if I even played on that, but, keep phone. So a suggestion, just a humble suggestion is to keep the phone, like, don't even light it up right away in the morning. When you first wake up, give yourself some time. If you absolutely have to, that's really fine. But like some of that stuff, most of it can wait, right? Until you're ready to tackle it, right? It's when the world wakes up is when we should start tackling those distractions, right? Prior to the world waking up, and if in your case, if you're not a morning person and you're a night person, right? Protect your energy whenever your circadian rhythm is at its peak. Protect your energy when it's up, right? When it's low, then you go, take a siesta or something like that. Like yours truly does every now and again. Anyways, so let me see if there's any. Okay, looks like Krista also said I used to use the Rachel Hollis gratitude journal. Worked for a while, but now I use spiral notebooks. I mean, dude, like, yeah, just, with no nothing on it, right? Like, yeah, love it.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, this was awesome. Obviously we're going to leave this in the comments, but if you want to just talk really quick, like, where can we, where best purchase your book? I know it's on Barnes and Noble. Is it also on Amazon?
No, it's not. So I am going to be moving forward, figuring out how to get it onto more platforms and all of that kind of stuff. But right now it's only available on Barnes and Noble. So you can just Google The Power Within Her Guide to Journaling and it should take you straight to Barnes and Noble. I can also give you the direct link
Cool.
to it. Or if you follow me on Instagram at dr.meggymarie, if you just click the link in my bio, like it'll take you straight to where you need to go to find the book.
Awesome. Awesome. Excuse my teenager walking down there. So,
All good.
So basically, and her friend. So I'm going to leave all that in the, just go on.
Finishing up some stuff.
Yeah, hello. So I'm going to leave all that in the comments, obviously, and we'll get you connected with Dr. Meghan. And with that, I also want to offer up a contest because I just love giving back and I love supporting my fellow entrepreneurs and my podcaster friends and those that are just out there trying to make a difference and make an impact. So what I want to do is text me. If you haven't already texted me and you're not on my text platform, hop in there. Okay. Send a text. And so that I know that you're coming from this live or this podcast, because this is going to be repurposed into a podcast, very likely. Wherever you've seen this from or from YouTube, text POWER to 727-334-8276. Text POWER to 727-334-8276. And also be sure to follow the prompts because you need to like give permission and everything, answer a few questions so that I can actually text you back. And if you do all the things and you get into my text platform, the first 9, because my favorite number is 3 and it's divisible by 9. Anyway, so the first 9 that text me POWER, okay, after this, within the next, I'll give it like 9 days or something for fun. If you text me that, I will do a drawing and I will send you the book myself as my gift to you. So for her book. So do that ASAP and get on my text list. And yeah, I can't wait to see who the winner is. Another call to action, tell your friends if you love it here, if you enjoyed this content, if you want to keep coming back, I'm sure your friends will probably really appreciate you because there's stuff here that, you know, hey, it's game changing. It can be a life changer. So I do appreciate you all. And thank you so much, Dr. Meghan, for being here. And this is so fun. We're going to have to do it again.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Amanda. I had so much fun.
Awesome. Awesome. See you all later. Bye.